It gives me great pleasure to welcome Yewande Oduwole onto the podcast. Yewande is a young dentist who is making real waves in the profession. She had an interesting story getting to dental school, which we'll talk about. A bit of an influencer on the old social media, wonderful YouTube channel, which is where I saw an interview with Bill Dorfman, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, years ago. An avid listener to this pod, thank goodness. And someone who, you know, for me, just has positivity as you just scream positivity, Yewande. It's a massive pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. It's an honour to be on the podcast. I've actually been listening to it since I was a student, so it feels weird to be on the other side. So thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Yewande, tell me your backstory. Where were you born? When did you first think dentistry?
So I was born in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. I came here when I was about two years old.
So you don't remember?
No, I don't remember much of Nigeria, but I stayed there long enough to understand the language. So I'm very grateful to have had my early days in this earth in my motherland, because I was able to learn Yoruba. And then I came here with my mum and dad, and like a lot of, you know, ethnic minorities just looking for a better life here. I just remember my mum doing a lot of different jobs. So it was my dad moving from house to house. I even asked my mum, what does she remember about me growing up? What was I like as a child? And she was just like, she used to take me to work with her because she used to work as a carer. And the old ladies would be like, oh, your daughter's so sweet, so positive. I'd want to like help her. I was probably like 4 or 5 at the time, but I'd want to do the work with her. So yeah, growing up, I just remember just seeing my parents work really, really hard. And
are you an only child?
No, I'm the eldest
of
3.
Oh, okay.
So I am the eldest daughter. If there are any old daughters listen to this podcast, you know what it's like to be the eldest daughter of the family. They call it an eldest daughter syndrome. You have to look after everyone. So I look after my 2 younger brothers growing up, and when my parents were out working, it would be me. So yeah, and growing up as well, unfortunately my parents didn't stay together, so I had to, you know, witness that journey of separation. So
how old were you?
Probably about 10 when they split up.
Tough age for that to happen, right?
Yeah, no, it was tough. I remember going to school and seeing all these, you know, happy families and just thinking, oh, it would be so great to have that kind of dynamic. So yeah, childhood wasn't the most...
It was turbulent.
Yeah, turbulent. And I was watching a show on Netflix the other day actually called Maid, and I really resonated with it, seeing her journey, looking after her child. And they said in that program that if a child doesn't grow up with stability, that child is more likely to have problems. And I definitely didn't grow up with stability, so I probably would have been a part of the statistics to grow up with problems. Stability is really important.
Gabor Mate talks about it. Have you looked at any of his work?
No, what does he say?
He sort of traces all of addiction back to childhood trauma of some sort.
Well, it's true. Obviously, if you're growing up in that environment, you kind of, maybe people tend to seek happiness and pleasure from elsewhere. But
so then on that point, is there any sort of leftover from that childhood experience now? Like, for instance, do you look for stability more than you look for excitement or whatever? Like, what resonates? If I say that, what's left of that in turbulence in your childhood today?
I feel the fact that I've gone through that just makes me want stability for my future, which is why I think, obviously, when we start talking about my career, I have been so determined to make sure that I create a solid foundation for myself, because eventually I want to have children and I don't want them to have to go through what I witness, because you kind of become you're a child, but you're a parent at the same time. And I think children should be allowed to be kids, rather than thinking, oh, you know, how are we going to afford this, or what can I do to help my parents, etc. As a child, thinking about all that, obviously it builds resilience in you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have kids, when they're probably in a fortunate situation where they don't have to kind of go through all of that. But I think going through that does build a certain level of resilience, and you because you've gone through it and you've seen it firsthand, you don't want that for your children.
Yeah, you know, my wife was ill, and an ambulance came to our house to take her away
Recently?
years ago. But I was talking to my daughter, and out of the blue, she said that was the worst night of my life, and that was like maybe 7 years ago, and I had no idea.
Yeah,
You know, you had no idea that I mean, I knew she was around.
Yeah.
But you know, at age 14, she's telling me when she was 7, that was the worst
No
day
way.
of her life. You know,
That
And
just shows like the
just
effect.
goes to show, yeah. And often as a child, you sort of bury that stuff, and or you suffer in silence. Like with my daughter's example, like she'd not mentioned it once before, not once, but then it did come out in that conversation for whatever reason. Yeah.
Wow. It just shows how childhood trauma is really, you think you've forgotten about it, but as an adult, it does play a role. And for your daughter to remember that, it just shows the effect it has on her, thinking, is mum going to be okay? Was she okay?
She was okay.
Okay, good.
So now, I mean, you're looking at you from a distance, right? Or I mean, I think social media is a distance, isn't it? That you get this sort of highlight reel of someone's life,
100%.
and you look so happy and so wonderful, and you're really making waves in the dental world, especially, you know, where you're at so
Thank
early
you.
on in the journey. What are you struggling with?
Good question. I think a lot of my career I have struggled with imposter syndrome.
Really?
100%. I feel, even though I get the accolades, you know, even literally last weekend I won
the award?
Yeah, best young dentist.
How did that
Southeast.
feel? You felt like you didn't deserve it.
No, I felt great, but
So you believe in that sort of manifesting?
100%. Like, my faith plays a huge part in my life. Definitely believe, you know, in God, and just trusting that what is for you will always be for you. And I feel like my path has been laid out already, but it's up to me to seek it. So yeah, when I won the award, I was just like, this has actually happened. And then I had this overwhelming just, oh my gosh, am I deserving of this? People are going to look at me and think, oh, she's only 4 years qualified. How has she won this award? I think that's one of my biggest struggles, thinking so much about what other people think. And it's so funny because I do social media, and people probably think, oh, she doesn't care.
You think you don't care?
No, yeah, I care. But I think the difference is I just convinced myself that people always have an opinion, and it's not up to me to change that. If they want to, people probably think, oh, she doesn't deserve that, or oh, she hasn't done this clinical cases, why she won this award. But at the end of the day, I know there's a reason why God set me on this path.
So I'd like to break that down into two aspects, right?
Go for it.
One, your sort of faith.
Yeah.
Because I've got a friend who's quite religious, one of my best friends. And there are moments in life where, you know, where a challenge has happened, right? And he's a top surgeon, you know, challenges happen to him all the time, right? And we were talking, and he was saying he was having a difficult life, man. He's got backache. He does 12-hour operations, and the operations no one else in the country can do.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, sometimes he can't get out of bed, but there's a 12-hour operation that, you know, the guy might die if he doesn't. It's a nightmare situation, you'd imagine.
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes when he's talking about these situations, his eyes kind of glaze over, and he goes, but you know what? It's going to be okay.
100%.
And I'm like, how do you know? And he goes, no, it's going to be okay. And I suddenly realised that that's his faith.
Yeah.
And so I don't have faith, right? So I don't have that moment, As my wife was being taken away in the ambulance, I didn't have that moment of thinking, it's going to be okay, someone's looking out for me. So there are moments when someone dies, I don't have that moment of thinking they've gone to this better place, that they're looking down on me, or whatever you know religion tells you. And you know, there's that famous phrase about there's no atheists in a bomb shelter, sort of thing. And you know, or if I really need something to happen, I can't pray to someone to say, please make this thing happen. So there are downsides to not having faith,
Of course.
but there are downsides to having faith as well. So tell me about those. I mean, do you have massive guilt or something?
So it's a lot to unpack there, what you've just said. I think, firstly, my faith, I feel like I wouldn't be where I am today without my faith. It has genuinely been such a catalyst in my success. Obviously for someone like you, that you said you don't have faith, for you that probably just sounds strange, like, nah, you feel that I did it all myself. But I genuinely feel in moments, for example, if we take it back to when I didn't get into dental school, that was the biggest test of my faith. I remember, when was it, 2013, I first applied to dental school, over 10 years ago now, which feels so weird. I prayed so much. I was like, I want to get in. And
you didn't?
I got 2 offers. I got an offer from Manchester and Liverpool. So I was thinking, great, because I wanted to be in a city. I was thinking, it's all working out.
You missed it by 1%. I've heard this story.
Yes. Yeah. So I had got these 2. Imagine you have 2 offers from these top dental schools and you do your exams. I had done countless of past papers, right? I'm a hard worker. I'm not someone that's naturally smart. I have to work hard. So I did so many past papers, revise. And it got to the day payment, did the exam, finished. And I remember the invigilator coming round. She picked up my paper, turned it around. She said, oh, you didn't want to answer this 25-mark question at the back.
You just didn't see it.
I didn't see it. Until this day, every time I tell this story, I feel that moment all over again. I literally burst into tears. I was thinking, can I have that back? Like, I can answer it. It was like a question about the heart or something as a biology exam. And I was just like, how did I miss that? And I think that's one of those moments when you're like, God, why?
Yeah.
Like, I could see those offers that I had flying out the window, because if I've missed out this whole question, there's no way I'm going to get my result.
Yeah.
So I think that year I was really depressed, because obviously the results came out, and to make matters worse, it was 1% off.
You got everything else right, I guess.
So even if I just answered like a few other things, I would have got it. So I was thinking, how could this be? And I was really battling with God, saying, what's going on here? Like, I've prayed, I got the offers, what is going on? I even paid for a remark that year. I had to like work. By the way, I've had like 7 jobs. I'll get into that later. But I had to work during my gap year because I didn't want to like burden my parents with the finances. I had to remark my paper. It was £200 at the time. £200 was a lot of money. I was like, to remark a paper, but I wanted to make sure.
And it came back 1% off again.
Back 1% off. Oh, so
I guess you're going to tell me then you had a great year and then you realised what God's big plan was or something like this. But we were talking about Uchenna before.
Yes.
And I had Uchenna on this pod, and she said to me her sister passed away in her 30s. And I said, and she was a very religious person, right?
Yeah.
And I said to her, did that not shake your belief?
Of course.
And she said it strengthened her belief. Now, I don't understand, because I do understand your one. If the following year you had this great year, you found yourself and that was God's big plan or whatever. But what was God's big plan in taking her sister? And it's really interesting that if your dreams come true, if your prayers come true, that strengthens your resolve. But if your prayers don't come true, that strengthens your resolve again. And that's the interesting part of it for me, that second part.
100%.
So explain that to me.
So there's a scripture in the Bible, Proverbs 3, verse 5-6, which says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take.
God moves in mysterious ways.
So I think the answer to that question is that there is a greater understanding that we don't have. And if you sit in that moment, for example, Uchenna, may God bless her soul, she, in that moment when her sister passed away, she didn't know what was going on, you know. Death is something nobody wants, but God sees it all and he understands. And I think that's where we talk about faith, and it comes in. It is comforting, and from that, her legacy lives on. You don't know what that could drive. So I think...
So give me another example. A child is born, 3 days later a bomb drops on him and he dies. It just happened. So many children have died that way in Palestine. Apparently there's something like 300 children who were born after October the 7th that died today. Yeah. When you look at that, what do you literally just outsource that to God moves in mysterious ways?
No, obviously.
How do you feel about that?
Things like that, it's... it breaks my heart and what's happening in Palestine.
No, but the God part of it. I'll tell you what Muslims say something like this. They say, you saw that, yeah, that child was innocent. That child's going directly to heaven, but you saw that, and so if you don't learn from that, that's your test. Yeah, that's what Muslims say about that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
God gives us free will, and we cannot control what humans do. Like, for example, the people that are obviously bombing and the world leaders, they've been given free will. And that's the thing about Christianity. We believe that everyone has been given this free will. So you can't necessarily control what other people do, but it's how you respond to it. So
That's similar.
It's so tricky, and I don't have all the answers, but what I do believe is that there is power in faith and prayer, and not all the time it's going to go the way you want. You know, I wish I could pray today and end everything that's going on in Palestine. But again, it's so complicated, and there is element of free will, and ultimately God sees it all and he knows the final plan. So,
But not to mention, in that war, both sides think God is on their side. Yeah, both sides deeply believe that. Yeah, and so you know, religion. You know, I don't have to spell it out for you. There's all sorts of problems with religion.
Of course, and we could talk about religion for ages, but it's not the purpose of the podcast. And
I'm so sorry.
No, I know, but it's one of these things. Like, religion can cause wars, but the thing about religion, there's a difference between religion and relationship. Religion is where people are like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you gotta act in this way. But I believe in like a relationship with God, and I see God.
Do you believe in karma?
Karma, I feel like if you do good, you can't always expect good to come back to you. Like, good things happen to bad people, you know, and it's one of these things. I believe in just having control over what you do and not worrying, if I do this, is this going to happen to me? Mm-hmm. Like you said in the beginning, I quite a positive person. Mm-hmm. My mindset is that if this makes me happy, I'm going to do it. Okay, somebody else, like, for example, I was talking to my friend about this the other day. I'm the kind of person, I will help other people, right? You know, if someone needs, Yewande, you know, I need connection with this person, or I want this job, or...
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was the person in uni, I'd give people like, I remember there was this top secret revision bundle that you had to pay for. I'd be like, I've got it, you know, have it. You know, I believe in an abundance mentality where everybody can win. But I know there are people that I would do stuff for them that they will never do for me. But if I got so bogged down by, this person's not going to do this for me, why should I do it for them? I think that it can just, you know, cause so much negativity. So, yeah.
Plus, you wouldn't be true to yourself, right?
100%. And I think if you are true to yourself in everything that you do, naturally, good things will come
Let's
to you.
talk about the other part of it, the awards.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, congratulations. Yeah. A couple of things I want to talk about awards. Number one, were you tactical about winning this award? Like, because I get the feeling like you can't win it without being tactical. Like, did you call up a bunch of people and find out what it is? What does it take to win the award? What did you do? What did you do to win? If, let's say there's someone else, there's a young dental student right now listening to this.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, I want to win an award. What did you do to win the award? And number two, do you have empathy with a large group of people who say, you know, these awards are divisive? There's a top dentist somewhere who would never enter awards, and now they're telling him the top dentist in your town is this other guy.
Awards. I think, firstly, for the first part of the question, I didn't call people up. I didn't even know I was going to win. Like, people were telling me, did you know you were going to win? Do you have so many contacts? No, none of that. I literally followed the guidelines
and just tick them off.
Literally, I'm that kind of person where I'd go through everything. Okay, so they asked for, you need to talk about your, you know, clinical skills. I put a case in there that I've completed, what you do outside of dentistry, any charitable work. I've done volunteering in Ghana, but I did that. I didn't do it because I wanted to enter into a award later, but that's just what I did whilst I was in uni.
Interestingly, I was talking to one of the judges, and he was saying more than half the entries get thrown out because they just don't answer the questions on the form.
Literally.
More than half.
That's crazy. So you can win an award if you just follow.
Yeah.
Even my friend, I encouraged her to apply for her practice.
Yeah.
And she followed the guidelines and they ended up winning as well.
Oh, cool.
So she, you know, so you don't have to be have loads of Instagram followers. People think it's about Instagram followers or who you know. No, just follow the guidelines. Make sure it looks good. Your presentation. I literally did like
As in pretty.
Yeah. The judges, they're giving up their time to read these awards. They don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
They literally have to volunteer to go through all these applications.
Stand out.
You need to stand out.
Yeah.
I put together, I think it was like 30-page PowerPoint presentation.
30 page, okay, that's good.
30-page PowerPoint presentation, highlighting everything that I've done in my career, you know, what I do outside of dentistry, my work with the Black Dental Network, my volunteering, podcasts I've been on, and all these things. I think being a dentist, obviously, it's a given. We're all going to be, you know, I hope we're all aspire to have great clinical dentistry. That's a given. Everyone's going to be good. It's like when you go to university, you all have good grades, you know. So to enter, it's given that you do good dentistry. I think what the judges are after, they want to know, okay, apart from that, what makes you a well-rounded dentist?
By the way, I went to the awards after the BACD. It was on the same night. And the FMC did a fantastic job. The last time I'd been was like 5-6 years ago.
Oh, right.
And it was you know, they call it the Oscars of dentistry. It literally felt like the Oscars.
Yeah.
We're talking Grosvenor House, 1,000 people.
Yeah.
The production quality. I mean, it was just a beautiful setting, you know. Yeah. It really was beautiful, and I came away from it. You know, I don't particularly give a damn about awards one way or the other, but I came away from it thinking, I'm going to that every year. It was almost the gathering of the year, and why not at the gathering of the year celebrate success? I'm not hating on it,
of course,
but I'm asking is, do you have empathy with the people who do not like it?
100%. Yeah, and I know a dentist, my colleague actually, he applied the year before I did, and I wanted him to win so badly, like, because he's so amazing, his work's amazing, you know, and I really emphasize that these people that do amazing dentistry, they won't always get the award, and I'm just like, it shouldn't be like that, you know. But then I think that's where you have to kind of be like, I don't need this award. Even if I didn't win, I still feel good in myself. Are
you in the top 50 as well?
Yes.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yet another divisive issue.
that was in 2022. But again, it's because I choose to put myself out there.
Sure.
And at the end of the day,
tell me, do you take these back to your mum and say, look, mum?
My mum's really proud.
No, like I feel like if I'd ever won, I've never won an award, but if I'd ever won an award, I feel like that would be the most fun moment. Taking it back to mum.
And that's what I do it for. To be like, look, mum. And she's so proud. She's telling all her friends. Yeah. She's posted on Facebook, telling all the aunties and uncles, and just that feeling of just knowing that.
Like the conclusion of her struggle.
Yes.
You know, I love that.
Yeah.
I do love that.
And even if, you know, these awards, for me, it's just, I do it for knowing that I've made my parents proud. And regardless, and I don't want people to listen to this and feel like, I need to get an award to feel like validated. You are validated if you do great dentistry, if you care about your patients, if you love dentistry, if you're a great dentist, you do not need an award. So I don't want to feel like I am saying, you know, you need an award to be the best dentist, you know. So I get where you're coming from, and there's so many dentists out there that do not have the best young dentist title, but you are still a fantastic, amazing dentist. Yeah, because it is problematic.
Let's talk about dental school in Plymouth, Peninsula.
Yes, Peninsula Dental School.
How did you feel when you got there, from the sort of workload perspective? Because I was talking to my buddies last night, and I was telling them dentistry was the hardest goddamn thing I'd ever, like, they were all saying A-levels was the hardest thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
But I felt dentistry was harder than A-levels.
Gosh, honestly,
I found it really hard.
I did the international baccalaureate,
so
I was a bit more prepared because you have to do IB. You do 6 instead of 4 A levels. So when I got to dental school, firstly Plymouth, I wanted to be in a city. Like I said, I wanted to be in Manchester, Liverpool, these big cities, Birmingham. And when I got Plymouth, I was like, where is this place? But I was happy. You get what you're given. The second time round I applied, that was the only offer I got.
What did you think of it when you got there?
I just thought...
Like, you're in the middle of nowhere.
I thought I was in the middle of nowhere.
The naval base, whatever.
Literally. But I grew to love it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went to Plymouth.
Yeah.
Those 5 years, I look back at dental school, honestly, amazing. Imagine no one else can say that if you went to Plymouth, you can say, but you studied by the sea, would go out to the beach, and it was a really lovely place to study. And I made amazing friends there. We're still friends till this day. And that's where I did a lot of my YouTube videos in my room.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where it started.
That's where it started. So as soon as I got in, I said to myself, I've made it now into dental school. There's probably loads of other young dentists, especially, young black female dentists, that they don't have anyone to look up to. Like I was saying before we started this podcast, Dr. Uchenna Okoye, she was one of the first black female dentists I saw on a Sensodyne advert. And I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, someone that looks like me, I can do this. So that's why I said, I need to put myself out there.
You really think it was that influential, that seeing someone who looks like you made you think, I can do this? Like, really was that?
Representation is key.
Love that.
Because if you don't see someone that looks like you, you kind of feel...
You script yourself in other directions.
Yeah. And even in dental school, I think I was one of 2 black people there. So I wrote an article about this on dentistry.co.uk during it was me, Dr. Midday and Chinwe. We wrote an article on
Black Lives Matter time.
Yeah, during Black Lives Matter time, on the importance of representation. So that was a big deal for me. That's why I put myself out there on YouTube to make these videos. And since then, I've had so many people like reach out to me like, Yewande, you've helped me get into dental school. Thank you for your video. And that feeling alone made it all worth it. Yeah. So
what about just from the, being away from home for the first time, and like, were you the party animal type? Were you not? Were you bookworm? Who were you at dental school? Were you passing exams every time, first time, or?
I'm a bit of both. I like to say I'm a social butterfly, but when it's time to study up, you won't find me.
Oh, really?
I'll be in my room.
So you passed all your exams?
There was one actually, the medical emergency one. I remember this. I remember I failed it because I was doing my chest compressions too lightly. So I had to do that one again. But I wasn't like, top of the class or anything. I'd get by. I'll do what needed to be done to get through to the next bit. Thank God I didn't have to like retake a year whilst in dental school. So I did what was needed. And during my time in dental school, I was part of a choir, gospel choir again. My faith, I'd go every Thursday. We had like Bible study, fellowship. So that really grounded me. And I also ran an eyebrow threading business in uni.
Really?
Yes. So I wrote that in my personal statement, actually, the manual dexterity aspect. I taught myself how to thread eyebrows in secondary school. So I'd be on the playground sort of like threading eyebrows. They'd pay me like £3 per eyebrow. And then in uni, I put the price up a bit. So I'd had that, and I built like this whole... I was like the main eyebrow lady in Plymouth where people would come to me from like different courses to thread their eyebrows. So I had that little business going on the side.
And the confidence to do that, did you get that from your year out working in retail?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a very hardworking person. Like, that's one thing. Whatever it is, I've been a cleaner. I've worked in Derriford Hospital during
COVID. Year out?
So that was in the pandemic. I stayed in Plymouth and I decided to work in the hospital. They needed people there. In my year out, I worked in retail in All Saints in Stratford.
Okay.
And then I worked in Apple.
Oh, one of those kids with the t-shirts.
Yeah, literally. You'd walk into Apple, I'll be the person there.
Give me some takeaways you got from retail, because I was 17. My parents said, you're a spoilt bitch. Go work. Yeah, they made me work in Oxford Street.
Oh, wow.
I only lasted 2 weeks, to say the truth.
Did you?
But I learned so much.
Yeah.
And the primary lesson I learned was I never want to be the guy who works in Oxford Street. Because I was a spoilt little 17-year-old. Getting everything I wanted. And then I saw, wow, this is like people's lives, people's careers. And I've told this story before on the pod, but I used to spend more than I used to earn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like every day. Like I'd take a taxi to work. I'd have steak at lunch.
Payment.
Go shopping, whatever. Like literally, like spent more than I was earning. But that was a lesson in itself. Yeah, the lesson into what a sport bitch I was. Number one, and you know the fact that there were other people there who their whole lives was that. And you know how lucky I was. I didn't realise that as a 17-year-old didn't anything. Do you? So go on, tell me takeaways you got from working in Apple, working in All Saints. So what kind of takeaways did you take?
I feel like everyone should work in retail. I felt that it really made me see the value of just communication with people. It's really helped in dentistry, actually.
Yeah.
I remember in All Saints, we had a target. We had to sell X number of leather jackets during the week, and having to really just you had to be a people person. You had to. I hate being salesy, but it really made me realize the importance of just speaking to people that you might not necessarily speak to.
Of all types.
Of all types. You know, when you're working in retail, you meet all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And you have to have great customer service, which is transferable in dentistry. A lot of dentistry is all about the communication. And it just taught me the importance of just hard work. And there were people there that were like double my age, and they were grafting, and I was thinking, I don't want to be working here in like 10 years time. So I think it just...
What about Apple? What's it like working for Apple?
Apple was great. That was one of the best jobs. Their ethos with Apple, they hire people based on personality.
Yeah.
So you don't have to know everything about how to fix a phone. They'll teach you that.
Yeah. So
literally, when you go into Apple, you realize that they're there to help you. So I remember the interview stages of Apple. It was a lot of like teamwork, communication, and they want their brand to be built on the people. And I think when you go into that shop, you can't stand there for more than 5 minutes without someone coming up to ask you, do you need help? Are you okay?
And they literally teach you that to look out on the floor for people.
They hire people that are like that.
Type of person.
That are like that already.
And what about the targets? I mean, you said leather jackets at All Saints. At Apple, are they like, we're making 3 million quid a day?
Apple, they're already making money. So
it wasn't target driven.
They care about customer experience.
And how much does one of those big stores make a day, or do they not share that with you?
They didn't really share that with us. I mean,
but loads.
I went there because I needed to make money during my gap year. I didn't really go into the business side of all of it, but probably like a fair amount.
I was thinking about that, because I saw some stat that per square meter an Apple store makes more money than any other store. But what's crazy about that is they're giant stores. It's not like they're tiny stores. The number 2 is Tiffany's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Tiffany's, you can see it's a small store, expensive products, you can understand it.
Yeah.
But Apple, then I was thinking about it, and I thought, I've never, in any other situation, do I go in and out of the store and spend as much as because I go in knowing what I'm going to buy. Mm-hmm. So, like, I literally walk in saying, I'm looking for a MacBook Pro. 7 minutes later, I'm walking out having spent 2,000 quid or whatever it costs, right?
Yeah.
And so you can understand it when you think of it that way, but just the size of those stores, and you know the American ones are even bigger. Yeah,
massive.
It's like, so interesting. So okay, then you did VT.
VT throwback.
I love that year.
Do you know what? I wanted to work in London, and then again, I feel like I always end up where I don't pick my first choice.
Always the bridesmaid.
Literally, I ended up in Gravesend, and it was deprived area, and I think it was the best place I ended up because I did a lot of
experience.
Yeah, experience, the nitty gritty dentistry. I loved my educational supervisors, Raymond and Sarita. Raymond was a dentist. He'd been working for over 40 years in the same practice. He's retired now, but he really took me under his wing and taught me so much about just dentistry and working in the same practice. I think there's beauty in working in the same practice for a long time. You see your failures,
for sure.
Which is why the practice I'm at the moment, I've been there for a few years now, and it's quite nice to see your work coming back and learning from it. So yeah, my foundation year was brilliant, and it was during COVID actually. So
actually, you were one of those COVID babies, right?
COVID baby, pandemic baby.
So your experience level was less than most by the time you came out of dental school. Is that right or not?
I feel going to Peninsula Dental School, we had an advantage because unlike a lot of dental schools, we have to see the patient from the very beginning and treatment plan everything as you would in practice. Whereas I know other dental schools, they have
but this is a bit different in that sense,
departments.
So you'd seen a little bit.
I feel like I had actually had good experience. So I'm really grateful to Peninsula for that. And they're quite a modern dental school where they teach us photography and the importance of these things. So I was already I take pictures of my work. So I felt like I went into foundation training with a good understanding, but like everyone knows, dental school doesn't teach you everything. You got to learn a lot on the job. But during the pandemic, we had to wait for like fallow times and AGP procedures. We had to get the mask.
PTSD thinking about it.
So I remember I was so excited to get fit tested because I could finally do an AGP procedure. Oh, those times.
This is your VT?
This was my VT, yes. Yeah. It was like, before I actually got to do dentistry, it was a lot of hoops to go through. And after you did a procedure, you'd have to wait outside for a bit for the room to clear. So
did you not consider staying on in that practice, or you just really wanted to get back to London?
Yeah, I wanted to get back to London, but they wanted me to stay. But I think I did my time in Gravesend, and the supervisor that was seeing me, he was retiring as well. And the practice I ended up going to, actually, I remember 2 Green Dental, it was a bit like 30 minutes away. I remember during my foundation year, I had a case coming up, a composite bonding case, and I was literally doing these cases like back to like practice, but then we didn't have a certain composite that I wanted to use.
Renamel.
Well, thanks, Renamel. So I remember contacting Rajiv.
Which one was it called? Which composite was it?
It was Empress. But also it's Renamel. So I wanted to do the case, but I didn't have the composite, and I wanted to, obviously do it nicely. So I contacted the practice, and he actually gave me the composite and guided me through the case. So I think the fact that he helped me through like my first case in FD year, I was like, this seems like someone that will invest time and knowledge into me.
Yeah, Rajiv, I was very, very, very impressed with him when I spoke to him. I kind of grabbed him during BACD, and we recorded a little 15-minute section.
Yeah.
And I know who he is. I've been following him, but I was very impressed with this just like curiosity of the guy and the amount of different things he does. And I haven't been to the new one.
Boutique.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks, and it's his sister as well, right?
Yeah. So Rajiv and Amika, they have 3 practices, and they're such great business.
Are they all called 2 Green?
No, 2 Green Dental, 2 Green Boutique, and Figs Marsh Dental.
Okay.
So they're all different, but the way they're very meticulous with the way they handle their business, and they pour a lot into their associates. So a lot of young associates.
I would pay attention, to the non-clinical learnings in a place like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a unique setup that it's such a big practice, and he's after quality, and he's after bringing people up, bringing people through. And I look back on all the jobs I've done as a dentist, not that many because I quit at whatever it was. So, but out of those jobs, I think back and I think I learned this from that guy. I learned that. I learned not to do this from that person. Yeah. And I'm sure he's great on clinical because he's one of those guys who likes to do a lot of everything.
Oh, he loves clinical.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was try and learn the other side from someone like Rajiv. Because he seems to do it sort of effortlessly from the outside. I don't know whether he's like a swan. He's like running quickly under the water.
No, he's not bothered. He just does things, and I think we all kind of look at him, he just gets on with it, and he loves his work. And I've learned so much being in that practice.
Does he go for awards?
No, so I actually applied for the practice. So I put together a presentation for best team. No input from Rashid Amiga, but
you see what I mean? So someone like that, he could win an award.
Yeah,
I'm sure if he went for it, he'd execute on that as well, right? But
just not bothered.
Yeah,
and this is the thing. You can. It just depends how. If you're not bothered and you're doing good dentistry, you don't really need the award. But I thought, this is a great team. I'm going to put together a presentation, and we ended up winning. So
you did win. Yeah,
we won. And
is that a happy team?
Yeah, honestly, I love my team. I think this is why I've stayed in the practice for 3 years now, going on 4 years. Like me and my nurse were like yin and yang. She's basically like a dentist. So if my rubber dam is slightly not on properly, or if, you know, I haven't done the last bit of polishing, she'll call me up on it.
Nice.
She'll be like, oh, Yewande, you haven't done this, or we'll both look at it together. So I love the fact that I think it's so important to have a good nurse by your side. And we constantly build each other up. She started not knowing how to speak proper English, so I helped her with her English. And
Where's she from?
She's from Romania, Simona. Okay. So we've grown together, and I think there's a beauty in having someone. You're in a room with your nurse all the time, you know. So it's so important to have that relationship where they can call you out, and I like that. I'm like, please call me out if you think there's something that's.
Do you call your patients?
Yes.
So do you call the patients, or does your nurse, or does reception?
So I need to get out of this habit, but I'd stay behind after work. And
call everyone from the previous day or that day. Or
not everyone, but like if I want
2-3 key people.
Yeah, see how they're going, and they really appreciate it.
Yeah, I would used to get my nurse to do it.
Yeah, but it's different when it comes from the dentist.
No, of course. But what was amazing was how much she enjoyed that job.
Yeah,
she used to love that job. You know, she said people are so appreciative when you call them.
100%.
And you know, it came down to, it started off with me saying, all right, call this guy, and that guy, and then obviously you can decide who to call. She like that, and then she used to come in every day and tell me, oh, this guy was so happy that I called him. It's a lovely thing. It's
nice, and patients really, really appreciate that. But then it gets to a point where I'd be at work, because we work in shifts at 2 Green.
2 to 8, 8 to 2.
Yes.
The other way, 8 to 2, 2 8.
Exactly. So Monday I do 2 to 8. Tuesday I do 7:30 in the morning till 8 at night.
Wow.
Wednesday's my day off, which is today. Thursday, 7:30 in the morning till 1:30. So it's...
Are you a 4-day week?
4 days, yeah. I
like that too.
Yeah, you need a day to just...
Yeah.
Do stuff like this. So I'll be at work. Let's say I finish at 8. Sometimes I won't leave till like 10, 11, because I'm doing...
treatment plans.
Extra stuff, treatment plans, calling patients. But then I like to leave knowing it's done. I don't like to bring things from the next day into another day. That really messes me up. I like to do what's needed on that day and then get it done. So yeah, the shift patterns at the moment, everyone's like, oh, how'd you do it? But it works right now. I feel like I haven't got a family yet, so I can afford to be at work till that time. But obviously there's going to be a time where it's not going to be sustainable.
What kind of dentistry do you do? Is it all cosmetic?
No, so I do a lot of general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry. I like to be good at all the basics. So I love restorative dentistry.
Do you endo?
I love endo.
Do you?
Yeah, I actually do. I actually considered going down the endo route. But yeah, I love endo.
Do you take out wisdom teeth?
So that's my limitation, extraction.
Don't like blood.
yeah, surgical implants, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's not my forte. But restorative, onlays, endo. And
are you getting more comprehensive as well? Like, are you doing more than sort of single tooth quadrant? Have you done any like full mouth stuff? Or
yeah, definitely. Those are my favourite cases.
Dull cases.
Yeah, where you're able to.
Cases.
Definitely.
Already?
Yeah, and
that's good.
I feel. The thing is, you need mentors to help you with these kind of things. So I've completed a diploma in restorative and aesthetic dentistry.
Which one?
Smile Academy, Jin and Kish. Many courses. So I think by doing these courses, developing my skills, you gain the confidence to do these kind of tough cases. And obviously there's going to be times where things don't go to plan. That's where you lean on your mentors and people to advise you on what to do.
What do you say to a patient when it's the first time you're doing something? Do you tell them?
Obviously you want them to have confidence in you.
Like, it's a massive problem. We were talking about this. I was talking to Simon Thackeray about this yesterday. Right?
Yeah.
First time you're doing something, you've got to do it, right? So that you get to your second time or your third time or your fourth time.
Yeah.
I found back in my day, telling the patient that I have a mentor was really the right move. But you need a mentor in order to do that.
Yeah, no, as a foundation dentist, I'd always say, my supervisor will come and check this. But when you're a few years qualified, and let's say you're just trying out this new thing you've learned on a course, to tell the patient that, oh, by the way, I've just...
But when was the first time you did 6 veneers on someone?
probably my first year out of foundation year.
Yeah.
To be fair, I told the patient because it was one of my friends. So I said, by the way, you're the first person I'm doing this for. And I think because she knew the kind of person I was, I'm a bit of a perfectionist where I wouldn't leave you with rubbish. I would make sure that I'd get it right. Yeah. So she had faith in me. But if it's someone that I just didn't know at all, it might be a bit different. So yeah, I did that, and she brought me more patients after that, after I did her case.
I think one thing as a dentist, right, is some people make the mistake of thinking that confidence breeds confidence in the patient. Let's say you're looking at a case, yeah. Well, let's leave it out of dentistry for a moment. Yeah, like if I'm talking to a lawyer and ask him a question, one of the responses I respect the most is I don't know. Yeah, I'd much rather hear I don't know. In a way, when someone says I don't know, it means you do know what you do know, and you do know what you don't know, and you don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
Where you get the feeling that this guy's just answering all my questions and reeling it off, sometimes I'm thinking, is this guy's timing just brilliant? You know, is he just talking? It just honey just come out of his mouth? And I'm more worried about the guy who's answering everything than the person who says I don't know a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now let's translate it to dentistry. You don't need to project this fully confident, has all the answers thing. That's not the key. And I've had some top world renowned experts here, yeah, and you know they say the same thing. When you tell people all the things that could go wrong and what you think particularly might go wrong here, that's not going to put the guy off. That's going to make the guy think this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy's got some experience, you know, like so. But as a young dentist, it's a troubling thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I notice young dentists make a mistake is they almost download everything in their head to the patient. And that's not your job. Your job is not to tell the patient everything in your head. Your job is to say the right things in the right way
100%.
to that person. Yeah. You
shouldn't overload the patient with too many options.
Yeah.
One of the courses that I feel has been really important in my career, exam cycle, run by Asif Saeed, he teaches on that course to communicate the right recommended option for the patient rather than say everything, because they're going to leave thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do? They're still going to leave more confused than when they came in. So I agree. And on that note of being a young dentist and you know what you don't know, I'm very happy to say I don't know this, I need to seek help. I remember when I first started posting on Instagram, I was so nervous to post my cases because I knew they weren't polished perfect. And I know a lot of young dentists, they struggle with posting their work online because of the critique.
I'm kind of amazed at that, you know. Like, I'm amazed how few do.
No, because dentists are
worried about other dentists.
Yeah, you know, you don't...
On Mini Smile Makeover, we always have 30 delegates.
Yeah.
We have a marketing bit. We always ask, who here has a dental Instagram page?
Yeah.
Maybe 4, 5.
Because people are scared. And my favourite thing to say is feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Yeah.
If you let fear paralyse you, you're not going to do it. And a lot of, you know that saying, the richest place is the graveyard, because there's just a lot of dreams that have just died there because of fear and what other people think. I posted cases. If you look on my Instagram, if you go far back, there are cases I look at and I'm like, oh, I should really delete this. But that was me at a time where I was growing, I was learning. I wrote a paragraph saying, oh, I could have done this better. And it was a reflection. And I think the reason why people started following my journey is because I was just unapologetically myself and just, I know I'm not here yet, but I am constantly improving, constantly learning, constantly growing. So I think if you can be humble enough to know your limitations.
But what's really interesting is, that even some of the top guys suffer with this. Dipesh suffers with it. He won't post.
Oh really?
Yeah. And by the way, even like George the dentist, he will post. Yeah. But even George the dentist, there's a guy better than him, right? So he could have that fear.
Yeah, of course. But there's always going to be someone better than you.
But Kunal kind of gets round this mentally in his own head, as in, this isn't for dentists, this is for patients. Yeah, and I don't care what dentists think about it. And some people have that sort of that chip in their head that can just switch off.
Yeah,
that anxiety.
It's about your why at the end of the day. When I started my page, my why was to inspire students and help them with their dental school application. So a lot of my things that I was posting was to help students. Then now it's turned into, you know, I want to speak to patients, because when people come to see me, they've already got a glimpse of my personality and who I am from my page. I describe Instagram as like, if you're going to a restaurant and you're going to look on their page to get an expectation of what
Picture
you're going
of the food, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for dentists, having your Instagram page, okay, you might want to post for dentists to help other dentists clinically. But then again, you may want to post for patients so they know what to expect, a little preview into who you are. I want a patient to feel like they know me before they've stepped into my
So what
practice.
percentage of your new patients come from your Instagram? Is it a large number a month? Or
So
are we talking one or two?
So obviously, because my Instagram was set up for students and dentists, not really, but now I'm seeing a lot more from like TikTok and so I get a couple a month from like Instagram. It's not.
Let's talk about TikTok, because I'm having real trouble with TikTok. I adore TikTok, adore it myself as a user. I'm on it all the time, too much. Yeah.
Really? What do you watch on TikTok?
Whatever, you know what I mean?
The For You page.
My TikTok will give me like crap that your TikTok won't give you. Right? But like, it's funny because sometimes it gives you something that you don't even know you were into.
Yeah.
Like I'm into bent cops. I didn't know that, but I am. It keeps sending it to me and I keep watching it.
Oh my gosh.
But dentistry on TikTok. Yeah, like dentistry on Instagram, we all kind of know what it is. It's before and afters, it's pretty stuff, whatever. Dentistry on TikTok, to me, so far, well, actually, the people who've got some traction with it, they're either education sort of videos with, you know, pointing to stuff behind you on a green screen, or some sort of salacious kind of turkey teeth story, you know, something, don't do this. I'm a dentist, I'm telling you, don't do this. And I've got a team of people working on TikTok for Enlighten. Yeah, we've got 3 agencies working on it right now.
Wow.
Yeah, one on the shop, one on the grid. It's a pain in the ass. We're getting nowhere with it. Having real difficulty having a brand work on TikTok. And then I see other brands exploding on TikTok. Yeah, so I'm not going to stop. Just like all of social media. Yeah, you kind of keep going.
100%.
But what are your insights on TikTok?
TikTok is all about organic content.
Yeah.
People don't like to see curated, well-polished things on TikTok. You literally have to just talk to the camera. I remember I was making a video. I was just walking to my friend's house and I just wanted to make a video on, you shouldn't rinse your mouth out with toothpaste after brushing.
Yeah.
Just simple information like that. And that got loads of views. Yeah. So I think when you make it too curated, people will swipe off. People love real stories on TikTok. And
what I love about it is it's the content is the driver of the reach.
Yeah.
It's not about followers.
No.
So that's an amazing idea.
You can reach so many people.
Like, you know, you
TikTok.
just met Richard, our videographer. I would say, Richard, you know, dude, like literally, you could reach 30 million people if you made the right video. Yeah. It's not about followers.
Yeah.
I adore that.
Yeah, no. People like Shadi, Onka, they're out there.
Rona says she's getting much more growth out of TikTok than she is
is
from
the new
Instagram.
thing now. I feel like Instagram is, you know, polished work or where people go to kind of get a gist of who you are. But TikTok, that's where you can get new clients. I had someone come and see me from TikTok because they felt that they watched my video and they said, I felt like, I can relate to you and you're someone that I'd want to treat me.
So is that the kind of video you're doing, sort of the educational type video? I'm a dentist, this is what I think about.
Yeah, also like patients speaking about their treatment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
that works?
That works before, like... I
reveal
videos. People love that. People like to see what's going on behind the scenes in the surgery. So yeah, TikTok, I think a lot of people thought TikTok was just about dancing. I remember when it first came out, it's not about
years
that.
ago.
But it's changed, it's evolving, and social media's, I think not every dentist needs social media. I always say this, just because you don't have social media doesn't mean you're not a great dentist. It's one of these things where the best dentists probably don't even have social media, but it's just getting yourself out there and putting yourself on the forefront for people to find you.
Yeah. So when we ask at the course, we say, who here has dental Instagram or whatever, and 4 people put their hands up, and then we say, who here has Instagram? Yeah, who here goes on Instagram?
Yeah,
and
everyone
30
puts their
people put their hands up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? And I'm looking at the number of hours I spend on TikTok personally. Yeah, like
it takes
1 to 3 a.m. I'm rotting my brain. Looking through.
I've got a timer to say how long I can be on Instagram for.
Oh, really?
My phone shuts off after
really?
like an hour.
What's that called?
It's just timer. You go on your iPhone and
just put a timer on.
You put a timer. No, you can put a restriction on an app.
Oh, can you?
To tell you that.
You'll have to show me how.
Yeah, because it can be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just post and I'll come off it because I just don't want to spend all day scrolling.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, Instagram, TikTok, the world of that. And a lot of dentists have been actually coming to me to get them to help with their social media. So currently I'm helping a dentist with his course, setting up his social media, creating a presence on there. So
Are you charging him?
Yeah, because it's my time. But
let's talk about all of that then. You've got a couple of brand deals going on. Are you working for Colgate for dental protection? Like what is that? Brand ambassador?
So
what do you have to do? What's your side of the deal? What do you have to do?
Obviously, these companies, they want to put themselves out there. They want to have a positive reputation. Yeah. So they find someone that fits with their brand morals, and I like Colgate, and then you do a video together. And
but what do they? Is there like a number of videos per month?
So you have a contract, produce? Yeah. So you have a contract. It might be 4 reels.
Yeah.
It might be you need to do this content for their page, a TikTok video, a podcast. So we call it activity. So the activity that you do, you get paid for it.
And then are we going to see you on a Colgate ad? Is that your dream come true?
Oh, maybe one day. Maybe one day. To be that person. Colgate, they don't really do TV ads. It's more Sensodyne that does that. But yeah, I like that stuff.
Why not? I mean, you got into it yourself because of your channel, right?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with it. And dental protection, similar? Yeah,
so dental protection, I've done YouTube videos for them. Obviously, they want to try and get a lot of young dentists to join them, and just because they need someone that has been in that position themselves. If you just get, I don't know, Mandy from the dental protection team to say that, it's not going to hit home the way it would somebody that's gone through it. And because I do a lot of work with students and young dentists anyway, I guess I was their perfect poster girl. And likewise, there's other students as well that are following that same trajectory, getting the sponsorship deals. And I think with dentistry, there's enough room for everyone there's so many companies out there that need people to represent them in a positive way. I do a lot of work with my colleague Chinwe, so she's doing stuff with DDU. I remember there was a time where I was with dental protection, she was promoting stuff for DDU. So it wasn't like a rivalry sort of thing, but it's just you both have like a unique sense of where you can communicate with people, and I think that's what the companies like.
For sure.
So yeah, I love doing that stuff.
And you've been qualified how long?
4 years, 2020.
It just feels like you're so very connected in 4 years.
Yeah, I was going to networking events as a student.
Did you really?
I was a BACD student rep.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
I always tell those guys like that is a good thing to be, man.
100%. Any students listening, be involved.
Yeah.
You know, I signed up FGDP. They were doing student awards, student essay prizes. It's funny because
when I was a student, I wasn't involved in anything. Nothing. I almost stayed away from everything. And now my advice to all students is get involved in all these things. And you can see it. You know, I remember Simon Chard was the BACD rep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see what that did for him. You know, like, by the way, he's a great guy.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, when you watch that trajectory of second year dental student to president of the BACD and all the things that he's managed to do, you just see realize, or getting jobs.
Yeah,
getting
100%.
jobs, right? It's so important for getting jobs.
And it's who you surround yourself with. So from that, I was able to connect with different dentists, get an insight into what's going on. Even one of my YouTube videos that I put so much work into, I got 30 dentists together to give advice to students, dentists from America, dentists from the UK. And from that video alone, it was able to reach so many people. And I was that student, I was an annoying student. I'll message them, be like, hi, can I get you my YouTube video? Can I talk to you about this? I'd be on the case. And I think there's a point where you can't ignore that person. So even like in my 4th year of dental school, I went to, I messaged Rona, can I shadow you at Chelsea? And
Really?
she had me there during my year. We made a YouTube video together. I wanted to just get involved. I'm the kind of person where it's like, if I'm in this profession, I go at it like all in, can't be half-hearted. So as a student, I'd be the annoying student as well. When I was recording videos to be on my YouTube, I remember a lot of my colleagues would look at me like, what's she doing? Like, I almost felt embarrassed, the fact that I was vlogging and doing all these things, because nobody else was doing that. I actually got in trouble. One of the deans took me to a side and said, we see you're doing this video content. Because dental schools, they can be quite strict about, obviously, confidentiality. But after we had a talk about what I was actually doing it for,
they got it.
Yeah, they realised, actually, she's not doing anything. I was in actual fact, I was bigging up the reputation of the uni. And so yeah, I think even though it's not something normal, sometimes you just got to go against the grain. And I believe in serendipity. Good things happen to you without you trying. Just putting yourself out there and just waiting for the opportunities to come, because if you don't, you never know what would happen. So
you know, I struggle with teeth whitening, getting dentists to talk to their patients about teeth whitening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed the number of dentists who never mention it to their patients. I know you use Enlighten and all that. So what would you do to get patients to go ahead with teeth whitening? Do you have a routine? Is it something in your examination that mentions shade?
Yes. So I'll bring out my shade guide.
Yeah.
And during the exam, I'd actually take a shade of their teeth. Yes.
And then mention it to them.
I'll leave it on the side for them to look at, because they obviously, when you're doing the checkup, patients are listening.
Yeah.
So then at the end.
So will you say to your nurse, shade A3?
Yeah. So they're like, oh, what's that? And then they see the shade guide by their side, and they're like, oh, I heard you mention this colour. Where am I on that scale? And I thought, okay, during your clinical examination, you are this colour. Then they're asking me, how can I get to this colour? And I also ask them, are you happy with the colour of your teeth at the moment? So if you don't have the conversation, as a dentist, you're the only one qualified to have this conversation with them. If someone from the street said, are you happy with the colour of your teeth? It'd be offensive. So when you're in the checkup is the most important thing, because they trust you, and you're not saying it in a way that you need whitening. It's just something you've observed. And from there, that's where a lot of patients, actually, I would like to be whiter. And natural white, I think, is the most important thing, because I think people have this misconception about whitening that you're going to be like, have Simon Cowell, Ryan and Clark teeth from whitening. Especially a lot of older patients, whitening has this stigma. So I think when you explain to them, we're just getting your teeth to how they were when you were in your 20s.
I found with older patients, saying to them, it's really good for your gums, almost gives them an excuse to go ahead. Like they want to go ahead, right? But they can't admit, like let's say an older man, can't admit to wanting a whiter smile. Can't admit it.
Because they think it's being vain.
Yeah, they can't think like looking vain in your 70s as a British guy just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
When I used to say to them, oh, by the way, it's good for your gums. Oh, good for my gums. Suddenly that's something they can hang it on, and then they go for it. It's funny. I never used to teach people to talk about the health benefits of teeth whitening.
Yeah.
So it's so obvious. Everyone wants white teeth, but there are nuances. There are times where you should. And then I realised loads of people sell aligners, Invisalign and ortho based on health benefits, which, if being like 100% honest, like you wouldn't go ahead with aligners if there wasn't an aesthetic benefit.
You'd be surprised.
But would you, as a patient, go through the risk and time and cost of aligners to make your teeth easier to brush, or whatever the hell they sell it on?
No, obviously, if your teeth are crowded, of course you want the aesthetic component.
The aesthetic component is 80% of it. And
but you have to think of functionality as well. I've had patients.
There's 20% of functionality, but when I listen to dentists talking to patients, the 20% is taking centre stage.
Because people need a reason to justify it, you know?
I think as dentists, we love saying you need, and we really hate saying, would you like? It's part of our culture. you need, and we're saying that all day. But it's funny, man. People tell me, "Oh, I don't want to embarrass my patient." I get it.
Yeah.
But every time you tell a patient you're not brushing your teeth properly, you're embarrassing the hell out of them. Yeah. You're embarrassing.
But you wouldn't say it like you're there to educate them at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people, when you talk about aligners, the functionality part actually
sells.
Big part. No, like
it sells.
People can't. There's times where people's occlusion doesn't allow them to eat properly.
Get it.
Yeah, you get it.
I get it. Let's get on to the darker part of the pod.
Ooh.
We like to talk about clinical mistakes so that we can all learn from each other's. It's not often talked about. Mm-hmm. But what comes to mind if I say clinical error, or if I say most difficult patient? Like sometimes those two things are the same thing. Sometimes just pick whichever you like.
The clinical error was on the most difficult patient.
Yeah. There you go.
So it was a double whammy. I was 2 months into my associate role. 2 months. Yeah. It happened in that time, and I had just come off this wave of the whole adhesive dentistry, bonding zirconia. Professor Marcus Blatt's talking about, we can bond zirconia now, and this patient, they needed a bridge, 3 to 3, and usually people do conventional bridges where they prep the 3s. But I decided, I now know how to bond. I'm going to bond it. I'm going to do wings.
Resin retained.
Yeah. From 3 to 3, which is
distance.
It's a distance, and it's a big job, especially bonding zirconia. But I had
zirconia wing.
Zirconia wing.
Oh, what heroics!
Yeah, but obviously I'd spoken to Reggie about this, and he said, "Yeah, you can do it." So I was like feeling confident. Yeah, I can do it.
Prepless. Go on then.
So I went through my protocol, all the steps. Bonded it, and it was great for a few months. It was fantastic. It stayed on, and then I get a call, and she calls in, like, my bridge's broken, and I literally, in my head I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've done all the bonding, what's gone wrong? And when she came in, it had actually broken on the connector part, so my wings were actually still stuck on, but the connector part had snapped. And I remember, obviously, it's her front teeth. So she was fuming. And this is where patient management really had to come in. I was literally like managing her, like trying to calm her down. And I had to speak to the lab because I was like, why is it broken? Because I was like, clearly my wings are still on. It must be something to do with
the flex, right? The flex.
Yeah. So then they made another one.
You went resin retained again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to prep the 3s. So we made another one, and
it broke again.
That lasted, a few months again. It was like a year or so. And then it broke again. And then that's when we had to look into occlusion. And that's when I was like, she hasn't got enough posterior support, which is why this part of the bridge keeps on breaking.
Yeah.
So obviously I spoke to Rajiv about it, and we really delved into it. And I think if I went back and did that again, I would not have suggested that. I would have told her to get her posterior occlusion better before we went on to doing that bridge. I think I just got really excited. When you learn something new and you're just like, I'm going to try it out.
Yeah.
Got excited. But
and one big learning point from that era, is when something breaks, your first point of call shouldn't be the lab to say, why did it break? Your first point of call should be occlusion.
100%.
Yeah, stuff breaks due to occlusion. Yeah, I'm sure once in a while stuff breaks because the lab puts a crack in something or whatever. Yeah. But the vast majority of stuff breaks due to occlusion, and so occlusion is the first place to look when something 100%.
Breaks, but when that happens, you're looking for like, oh my gosh, it wasn't me. But I've learned so much now.
So what ended up happening in that case then? You did the posterior support?
Yeah. So she now had posterior support, and she's good now.
And a conventional bridge, or you'd still resin bonding?
It's still bonded. The wings are still on there. It's literally the reason why it kept on breaking was because of her occlusion. So now she knows she needs that posterior support.
And what are you doing? Like drilling off the zirconia wing to make a new one?
Yeah, so
what a nightmare.
I know. So the bonding worked, thank God, but it was just the occlusion that failed. Biggest lesson. That's where everything starts from, occlusion.
What did the patient say? Were they pissed off?
Of course she was.
Did she have to spend more money to get the back?
Yeah,
And was she cool with that?
of course not. But
So how did you work it out?
I had to. This is
So
where
Rajiv stepped in.
we spoke to her together.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, because I had built a good relationship with her in the beginning,
Yeah.
she trusted me. And I think she could see that I genuinely wanted to do the best thing for her. And patients don't sue dentists they like.
Yeah.
So I think
That's key.
she liked me enough not to go down that route. And obviously Rajiv stepped in and we were able to get her to come to an understanding where she realizes that, oh, okay, this is a problem that I need to sort out with my back teeth. I think we take a lot of ownership for patients' problems and we make it our issue. But it's important to explain that, okay, so due to obviously you've lost these back teeth, we need to get it back to function. She understood that. So yeah, with the help of communication and getting things right, it's all good. But I remember, oh my gosh, for that to happen in your first few months, it was really big.
Was there a call to the defence?
No.
That they can go
I've
that
never
far?
had, touch wood, I don't even want to say it now. No, nothing like that has ever happened. But I think it's because of the patients can really see that I am trying my absolute hardest for them. And I think as a patient, you can sense that.
Is it a mixed practice?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing with private. You have time to make that connection. Whereas in mixed, sometimes you haven't got time. You know, and you're doing it very bad. And I mean, in this situation, you could have easily recommended a fixed bridge.
Yeah. But I was trying to be conservative.
You were trying to be conservative. Like, there's almost like this question of, should you have communicated the fact that you were trying to be conservative? Like, for instance, on back to that question about looking confident. Yeah? In that situation, you can say, look confident, say, I'm going to do this for you and it's going to be okay. Or you can say, I want to do this for you because I don't want to drill your teeth, but I'm taking a risk here. You know, sort of taking this risk. We're taking this risk together.
100%.
And it's interesting. Like if it was framed that way, maybe she wouldn't have been as pissed off.
Yeah, and I've learned now with
like,
every
it's your choice. Like, almost like that. You know, do you want us to do this, or do you want us to go the other route? You know, like. It's an interesting point.
It shaped the way I discuss risk now, and
Really?
I will always make sure that if I know there's even a chance of this not lasting or going wrong, I will make it absolutely clear. And after that, I had a patient where she wanted to save her tooth with an endo. I told her, you know, it may fail, and she had some perio, but she still wanted to save this tooth. So I did it for her. Eventually it did fail, but she was happy because she was like, oh, you told me that, and I need to sort my gums out. But at the time she wanted to save this tooth. So I think now that's really helped me with my communication before it happens, rather than explaining, because if you explain at the end, it's an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than explaining in the beginning. So
We've come to the end of our time, crazily.
that went really quickly.
Yeah. I'm going to end it with the usual questions. Fantasy dinner party. 3 guests. Dead or alive.
So the first person would be, you probably won't like this answer, but it's going to be Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no.
Because I know at the beginning you said about the faith, but I think because of how much faith has shaped my life, I'd really want to sit down and just ask questions
Talk
about
to Christ.
Yes, love, forgiveness, just get an insight into how Jesus lived his life.
Wow.
Second would be Dr. Yewande Oduwole.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
one of my favourites.
one of the last things we said, we'd always talk back and forth on Instagram,
Yeah.
but she said we're going to meet up one day for dinner, and she'd always be, you know, following my journey, praising what I would be getting up to, and I'd be praising her, but we never got a chance to have that dinner.
Oh.
So I'd love to just sit down with her and just speak about her experiences as a black female dentist.
Yeah, I used to have dinners with Yewande.
Really?
Yeah. The third?
Third would either be, so I couldn't pick, but Michelle Obama or Viola Davis. Viola Davis.
Who's that?
So she is an actress.
Yeah.
She is a very powerful woman that she's gone through a lot of adversities in her life, but she's made it in the acting scene, and she's one of those people that I know if I was to sit with her, I'll leave feeling like 10 times better about myself, and just the confidence that she exudes. And I love that. I think the difference, so the last thing I want to say, actually, the difference between smart people and bold people is that bold people, they see the glass as like half full, and I think the secret to getting everything you want in life is just to be bold. Smart people will think, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
But bold people will say, oh, what could go right? And I think that's how I've tried to live my life, just being bold, even when I don't feel like it.
Tell me about the Black Dental Network event that's...
Oh yeah, so we're having a conference next year. Black Dental Network was founded in 2022. I run the Instagram page with Dr. Arnold, and we've created a group to fill this gap with the representation of the lack of sort of black. Less than 2% of dentists in the UK are black. So going back to what I was talking about, the representation. So we have this conference that we hold every year between April and May. Chris Orr came to the last one. He was a speaker. Martin Wanandea as well. So we'd love for, you don't have to be black to come. Please come, support. And it's just about bringing everyone together and representation. So
what's the page called? Black Dental Network?
Black Dental Network. Yeah.
And were you one of the co-founders of it?
Oh, so no, Dr. Dami and Toyin founded it, but I'm part of the lead, the core group, where we delegate roles, and it's all non-for-profit. We just do it because we want more representation in the dental field. So yeah, everyone can feel free to get involved.
Amazing. It's been lovely talking to you, it really has. I've
Thank you.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And I feel like we could have kept going for a long time, but
I know, it's
our time is
literally
over.
gone by so quickly. Thank you so much for
Thanks
having me.
so much for coming all the way here.